Now, let's see how one woman's mission for vengeance became a race against time to save 2 children from a monster hiding in plain sight. The December wind sliced through Chicago's south side like a blade, carrying the smell of snow and exhaust. Ruby Castellano stood outside the iron gates of the Reed mansion, her forged references clutched in one gloved hand, her sister's obituary folded in the other pocket. 2 years. It had been 2 years since Sarah's body was found in the Chicago River, with a single bullet hole behind her left ear. Execution style, the detective said. No witnesses, no suspects. Case closed within 6 weeks. But Ruby knew. Sarah had been working as a paralegal for a firm that laundered money for the Reed family. She'd found something, tried to be a hero, and paid the price. Michael Reed gave the order. Ruby was certain. And now, standing outside his home with a fake smile and a resume full of lies, she was going to make him pay. The gate buzzed open. Ruby walked up the long driveway, her boots crunching on gravel, her heartbeat steady despite the rage simmering beneath her ribs. Revenge required patience, precision. She'd spent 18 months preparing for this, learning to cook like a professional, mastering silence, erasing her digital footprint. The agency that placed domestic workers in high-profile homes never suspected that Ruby Castellano was actually Ruby Chen, sister of the dead paralegal no one remembered. The front door opened before she could knock. A woman stood there, tall and polished, blonde hair swept into a flawless chignon, diamond earrings catching the gray, afternoon light. Tiffany Laurent, Michael Reed's fiancée. Ruby had studied her face in dozens of Society page photos, always smiling, always elegant, always beside Michael like a trophy. "You must be the new housekeeper," Tiffany said, her voice smooth as silk over steel. "The agency said you come highly recommended." "Yes, ma'am," Ruby replied, keeping her eyes respectfully lowered. "I'm grateful for the opportunity." Tiffany's gaze traveled over Ruby, assessing, calculating. Ruby had chosen her outfit carefully. Plain black dress, sensible shoes, hair pulled back, minimal makeup. Invisible. Unthreatening. Exactly what wealthy people wanted their staff to be. Michael's children require special attention, Tiffany continued, stepping aside to let Ruby enter. The foyer was cavernous, all marble and dark wood, a chandelier glittering overhead like frozen tears. "They've been difficult since their mother passed. Michael spoils them, and frankly they need discipline. I trust you. Understand discretion is paramount in this household?" "Of course," Ruby murmured, but something cold slithered down her spine at the way Tiffany said discipline. "Good. Your quarters are on the 3rd floor. I'll show you." Tiffany began walking, her heels clicking against marble. "The children are with their nanny now, but she leaves at 6. You'll handle their evening routine. Dinner, bath, bed. Michael works late most nights, so you'll rarely see him. I prefer it that way. Staff should be efficient and invisible." Ruby followed, memorizing the layout. 1st floor, kitchen, dining room, Michael's office, locked, she noted. 2nd floor, master bedroom, guest rooms, children's wing. 3rd floor, staff quarters, storage. She was cataloging exit routes, security cameras, hiding spots for the recording devices she'd smuggled in her suitcase when she heard it. A child crying, muffled, like someone trying very hard to be quiet. Tiffany didn't react, didn't even pause. She continued up, the stairs, still talking about meal schedules and cleaning expectations, as if the sound didn't exist. Ruby's fingers curled into fists inside her coat pockets. Focus. Don't react. You're here for evidence against Michael, not to play savior. But when they reached the 3rd floor, and Tiffany finally left her alone, Ruby stood in her small, sparse room and couldn't unhear that crying. It had sounded young, scared, and it had stopped too quickly, as if someone had learned that crying brought consequences. She unpacked methodically, hiding the miniature cameras in her toiletries, the voice recorder in a hollowed-out book. Then she changed into her uniform, black dress, white apron, and went downstairs. It was 5:45 p.m. The nanny would be leaving soon. Ruby found the kitchen first. Industrial-grade appliances, granite countertops, a refrigerator stocked with organic produce and expensive cuts of meat. She started preparing dinner, keeping her movements quiet, her ears sharp. At 6:03 p.m., the front door opened and closed, the nanny leaving. At 6:15 p.m., small footsteps padded into the kitchen. Ruby turned. A little girl stood in the doorway, maybe 5 years old, with dark curls and enormous brown eyes that looked too old for her face. She wore a long-sleeved pink dress despite the warm house, and she was staring at Ruby with the wary intensity of an animal deciding whether to run. "Hi," Ruby said softly, crouching down to the child's level, a trick she'd learned from volunteering at Sarah's church. Never tower over scared kids. "I'm Miss Ruby. I'm going to be helping out around here. What's your name?" The girl didn't answer immediately. Her eyes darted toward the hallway, then back to Ruby. "Lily?" she whispered finally. "Are you the new maid?" "I am." Ruby smiled, keeping it gentle. "Are you hungry? I'm making chicken and rice." Lily nodded, but she didn't move closer. Instead, she asked, "Are you going to stay?" The question landed like a stone in Ruby's, chest. "Of course. Why wouldn't I?" "The last lady left." Lily's voice dropped even lower. "And the one before her. They always leave." Ruby's smile faltered. "Well, I'm not going anywhere. Promise." Lily studied her for a long moment, then took 3 careful steps forward. "My brother Noah is upstairs. He's 3. He doesn't talk much. Miss Tiffany says he's being difficult. Would you like to get him? We can all eat together." Lily's face brightened, but only for a second. Then the wariness returned. "Miss Tiffany says we're supposed to eat in our room. We're too messy for the dining room." Ruby's jaw tightened, but she kept her voice light. "How about a special exception tonight? I'd love the company." Lily hesitated, glanced at the hallway again, then nodded and disappeared. Ruby stood slowly, her hands shaking with something that wasn't fear. It was recognition. She'd seen that look before, in Sarah's eyes years ago, when their stepfather would come home drunk. The look of a child who'd learned to measure danger in footsteps and voices. When Lily returned, she was holding the hand of a small boy with the same dark curls, same enormous eyes. Noah didn't look at Ruby. He stared at the floor, one thumb in his mouth, his free hand gripping his sister's dress. "Hi, Noah," Ruby said gently. "I'm Miss Ruby." He didn't respond. Lily squeezed his hand. "He's shy," she explained, but Ruby noticed how Lily positioned herself slightly in front of her brother. Protective. They ate at the kitchen island, not the grand dining room, and Ruby watched them carefully. Both children ate slowly, methodically, as if food might be taken away. Both wore long sleeves. Both flinched when a door closed somewhere in the house. And when Noah reached for his milk and accidentally knocked over the salt shaker, he froze completely. His eyes went wide. His breathing stopped. Lily grabbed his hand. "It's okay," she whispered urgently. "It's okay, Miss Tiffany's not here. It's okay." Ruby's heart cracked open. She smiled, walked over, and calmly picked up the salt shaker. "Accidents happen, sweetheart. No big deal." She ruffled Noah's hair gently. He stared up at her like she'd just performed a miracle. That night, after she'd bathed them, noting the faded bruises on Noah's upper arms, the way Lily winced when Ruby washed her back. After she'd read them 2 stories, they sat pressed against each side of her like she might disappear, after she'd tucked them into their beds. Separate rooms, but Lily had whispered, "Can you leave the hall light on? Noah gets scared in the dark." Ruby returned to her room and sat on the edge of her narrow bed. Her hands were shaking. She pulled out her phone, opened the encrypted folder where she kept photos of Sarah. Her sister smiling at graduation. Sarah laughing at a stupid joke. Sarah's face in the morgue, pale and still. Ruby had come here to destroy Michael Reed, to gather evidence, ruin him, watch him lose everything the way Sarah lost everything, but those children, those scared, too quiet, bruised children. She closed the photo folder, opened a new file, started typing notes. Observation Day. 1. Children show signs of abuse, hypervigilant, fear response to minor accidents, bruises on both, age consistent with repeated incidents. Tiffany Laurent mentioned discipline, children isolated, eating alone, need to investigate further. Ruby stared at the words. Then she added one more line. Sarah would have helped them, and for the first time in 2 years, her mission felt complicated. 3 days passed like held breaths. Ruby moved through the Reed mansion like a ghost, learning its rhythms. Michael left before dawn, returned after midnight. Tiffany hosted charity luncheons and spa appointments, her schedule a performance of perfection. The children were Ruby's constant shadows, following her from room to room, helping her dust, sitting at her feet while she cooked. They were starving for attention, for gentleness. And every time Noah wordlessly handed her a wooden spoon or Lily asked, "Miss Ruby, do you like stories?" Ruby felt the knife of her original purpose twist deeper. She'd planted cameras in 3 locations, the hallway outside the children's rooms, the kitchen, and the main living area. So far, the footage showed nothing but routine. Tiffany barely interacted with Lily and Noah. Michael was never home. Ruby was beginning to think her initial assessment was wrong. Maybe the bruises were old, from before she arrived. Maybe Tiffany was just cold, not cruel. Then Wednesday night happened. Ruby was folding laundry in the 3rd-floor linen closet when she heard the crash. Sharp, loud, followed by Tiffany's voice rising like a siren. "You stupid, careless little..." Ruby dropped the towels and ran. Down 2 flights of stairs, her heart slamming against her ribs, following the sounds to the kitchen. She stopped in the doorway. Lily was on the floor, surrounded by broken glass and spilled orange juice. Her hands were bleeding. Noah stood in the corner, silent, tears streaming down his face, his whole body trembling. And Tiffany stood over Lily, gripping the child's arm so tightly her knuckles were white. "Do you know how much this tile costs? Do you have any idea how exhausting you are?" "I'm sorry," Lily sobbed. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "You never mean to." Tiffany's voice was ice. "But you always do." Ruby stepped forward. "Ma'am." Tiffany's head whipped toward her. "This doesn't concern you?" "She's bleeding," Ruby said, keeping her voice steady. "Let me help." For 3 long seconds, Tiffany didn't move. Her eyes were flat, empty, like a doll's. Then she released Lily's arm, leaving red marks in the shape of fingers. "Clean this up," she said to Ruby, "and teach them to be less clumsy." She walked out, her heels clicking against marble, as if nothing had happened. Ruby knelt immediately. Lily was cradling her hands, blood dripping between her fingers. "It's okay, sweetheart. Let me see." "She's going to be so mad," Lily whispered. "She's going to..." She didn't finish. She didn't need to. The terror in her eyes finished the sentence. Ruby cleaned the cuts carefully, wrapped Lily's palms in soft bandages, gave her a glass of water with shaking hands. Noah crawled out of his corner and pressed himself against Ruby's side. He was still crying silently, his small body racked with shudders. Did I do something wrong? Lily asked, her voice small. I was trying to help. I wanted to pour Noah's juice so Miss Tiffany wouldn't have to. You didn't do anything wrong, Ruby said fiercely. Do you hear me? Accidents happen. That's what being a kid is. Lily looked at her like Ruby was speaking a foreign language. That night, Ruby reviewed the footage. The kitchen camera had captured everything. Tiffany's face. Cold, controlled, vicious. The way she'd gripped Lily. The way she'd ignored Noah's terror. Ruby saved the file, backed it up, to 3 locations, and sat in the dark of her room staring at her phone. She should send this to the FBI, to Child Protective Services, to someone. But if she did, they'd investigate. They'd discover her real identity. Her infiltration would be exposed before she'd gathered enough evidence to bury Michael. And worse, there was no guarantee CPS would act fast enough. Tiffany had money, connections, a pristine public image. The system moved slowly, and in the meantime, those children would be alone with her. Ruby's reflection stared back at her from the darkened phone screen. Sarah's voice echoed in her memory. You're too soft, Ruby. That's why you'll never survive in this city. Maybe Sarah was right. Maybe Ruby was too soft. But she couldn't walk away. Not from Lily's bandaged hands. Not from Noah's silent tears. She'd stay, gather more evidence, protect them until she had enough to destroy everyone who deserved it. Michael for being absent, Tiffany for being a monster. The next morning, Ruby found Lily sitting on her bedroom floor, drawing. She'd drawn 4 stick figures, 2 big, 2 small. The small ones were holding hands. The big ones were on opposite sides of the paper. That's a beautiful picture, Ruby said softly. Lily looked up. It's us, you and me and Noah and Daddy. Ruby's throat tightened. Where's Miss Tiffany? Lily's crayon paused. Then she drew a 5th figure, far in the corner, separated from the others by a thick black line. She doesn't like us, Lily said matter-of-factly. We heard her tell Daddy we're obstacles. What does that mean? Ruby knelt down slowly. Lily, I need you to tell me something. Has Miss Tiffany ever hurt you, besides yesterday? Lily's eyes went wide. She looked at the door, then back at Ruby. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You can't tell Daddy. She said if we tell, he won't love us anymore. He'll send us away like he sent Mommy away. Your daddy didn't send your mommy away, sweetheart. She got sick. That's what Miss Tiffany says, Lily interrupted, her voice urgent and frightened. She says Mommy got sick because me and Noah were bad. And if we're bad again, Daddy will get sick too. So we have to be good. Really, really good. Ruby's vision blurred. She pulled Lily into her arms, holding her tight. The child was shaking. That's not true. None of that is true. You are not bad. Do you hear me? You are perfect. Lily cried into Ruby's shoulder, the kind of deep, body-shaking sobs of someone who'd been holding them in too long. Ruby rocked her, whispering promises she wasn't sure she could keep. I'll protect you. I won't let her hurt you. You're safe. When Lily finally calmed down, Ruby asked gently, Can you show me where she hurt you? Lily hesitated. Then she rolled up her sleeve. The bruises were green-yellow now, fading, but unmistakable. 4 finger-shaped marks on her upper arm, more on her shoulders. And when she lifted her dress slightly, Ruby saw a burn mark on her ribs, circular, like from a cigarette. Ruby's rage was a living thing, clawing up her throat. She forced it down, forced her voice to stay calm. Lily, I need to take pictures of this. Is that okay? Lily nodded, solemn. Are you going to show Daddy? I'm going to make sure you're safe. Ruby said. Which wasn't an answer, but it was the truth. She photographed the bruises, the burn, then helped Lily get dressed again. Does Noah have marks too? Lily nodded miserably. She locked him in the closet. Once? For 2 hours. He cried so much he threw up, and she pulled his hair really hard when he wouldn't eat his vegetables. He's scared of her. Ruby wanted to scream. Instead, she took Lily's face in her hands. Listen to me. I'm going to talk to your daddy. But I need you to be brave a little longer. Can you do that? You promise you won't leave? I promise. But even as Ruby said it, she knew she was lying. Because once Michael knew what Tiffany had done, one of two things would happen. Either he'd act like the crime boss he was and eliminate the threat with violence, or he'd refuse to believe it, because admitting the truth meant admitting he'd failed his children. Either way, Ruby's mission was about to get a lot more complicated. That evening, Michael Reed came home early. Ruby heard his car in the driveway at 7 p.m. Unheard of. She was giving the children dinner when he walked into the kitchen. She'd seen photos, of course, but in person, Michael Reed was more than the tabloid images suggested. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair graying at the temples and eyes the color of winter ice. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than Ruby's car, and when he moved, there was a coiled energy to him, like a wolf pretending to be a dog. He looked at Ruby, then at the children. Lily and Noah both froze, forks halfway to their mouths. "Daddy," Lily said, her voice bright and brittle. "You're home." "I am." His voice was deep, rough. He looked at Ruby again. "You're the new housekeeper." "Yes, sir. Ruby Castellano." He nodded once, dismissed her with his eyes. Then he turned to his children. "How was your day?" "Good," Lily said immediately. Too quickly. Noah said nothing, staring at his plate. Michael frowned slightly. Ruby saw it. The flicker of confusion, maybe concern. But then his phone buzzed. He glanced at it. "I need to take this. Finish eating." He left. Lily's shoulders slumped. Noah let out a breath he'd been holding. And Ruby understood. They loved their father, but they didn't trust him to protect them. She cleared the plates, helped them brush their teeth, and tucked them in. But before she left Lily's room, the child grabbed her hand. "Miss Ruby?" "The last lady who tried to help us. Miss Tiffany said she had to go away because she told lies. Is that true?" Ruby's blood went cold. "What happened to her?" "She left in the middle of the night. We never saw her again." Ruby forced a smile. "I'm not going anywhere, Lily, I promise." But as she climbed the stairs to her own room, Ruby's mind was racing. Another housekeeper. Gone. How many others had tried to intervene? And what exactly had Tiffany done to silence them? She locked her door, opened her laptop, started searching missing persons reports, cross-referencing with domestic workers in Chicago. It took 2 hours, but she found it. Maria Santos. 42. Reported missing 8 months ago by her sister. Last known employer, a private residence in Lincoln Park. No body found. Case still open. Ruby stared at the photo. A woman with kind eyes. A woman who probably saw bruises and tried to do something about it. And Tiffany had made her disappear. Ruby's hands were shaking again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was fury. She opened a new document and began typing everything. The bruises, the burn, Lily's confession, Noah's terror, Maria Santos. She wasn't here for revenge against Michael anymore. She was here because 2 children needed someone who wouldn't disappear in the night. And if bringing down Tiffany Laurent meant burning Michael Reed's world to the ground in the process, so be it. Ruby spent the next week gathering evidence like ammunition. Every interaction, every bruise, every whispered confession from Lily went into her files. She documented how Tiffany would smile at the children in front of Michael, then ignore them completely when he left. How she'd accidentally serve their food cold, then berate them for not eating. How she'd tell Noah he was slow and difficult, eroding the little boy's confidence until he stopped trying to speak at all. But Michael remained oblivious, or willfully blind. Ruby couldn't decide which was worse. He came home sporadically, always late, always distracted. When he was there, Lily and Noah transformed into perfect, silent children who spoke only when spoken to. They'd learned to perform normalcy, a survival skill that made Ruby's heart ache every time she witnessed it. On Sunday, Michael was home for lunch. Tiffany had prepared an elaborate spread, poached salmon, roasted vegetables, artisan bread, and insisted the children join them. Ruby served, trying to be invisible, but her eyes kept drifting to Lily and Noah. They sat rigidly, barely touching their food. "Lily, eat your salmon," Tiffany said, her voice sugary sweet. "You're looking thin." Lily picked up her fork, but her hand was shaking. The salmon slipped off, landing on the white tablecloth with a wet splat. The temperature in the room dropped. Tiffany's smile didn't move, but her eyes went dead. "Clumsy." Michael looked up from his phone. "She's 5, Tiff." "She's old enough to use a fork properly," Tiffany replied, still smiling. "Aren't you, Lily?" Lily nodded, her eyes filling with tears. She tried again, managed to get a bite to her mouth. Noah sat frozen, fork untouched, staring at his plate like it held nuclear codes. Michael's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, frowned. "I need to take this." He stood, already walking toward his office. "Ruby, can you help Tiffany clear?" "Of course, sir," Ruby murmured. The moment Michael's office door closed, Tiffany's mask dropped. She turned to Lily. "You're embarrassing. Do you know that?" Ruby's hands tightened on the serving tray. She watched Tiffany's reflection in the polished sideboard mirror, watched as the woman leaned close to Lily and whispered something Ruby couldn't hear. But she saw the effect. Lily's face crumpled. A tear slid down her cheek. "Ma'am," Ruby interrupted, her voice steady. "I can take the children upstairs if you'd prefer." Tiffany straightened, smile snapping back into place. "That would be lovely. Thank you, Ruby." Ruby helped Lily and Noah down from their chairs. As they passed Tiffany, Noah flinched. It was slight, just a hitch in his step, but Ruby saw it. And when she glanced back, Tiffany was watching them with an expression that made Ruby's skin crawl. Upstairs, Lily finally spoke. She said I ruined lunch. She said Daddy's going to get tired of me being embarrassing and send me away. Ruby knelt, gripping Lily's small shoulders. "Your daddy loves you. You didn't ruin anything. Then why doesn't he stop her?" Lily's voice broke. "Why doesn't he see?" Ruby had no answer for that, because the truth, that Michael was so consumed by grief and business that he couldn't see what was happening in his own home, felt too cruel to say out loud. That night, Ruby reviewed the dining room footage. The camera had caught Tiffany's whisper to Lily. Ruby enhanced the audio, isolated the words. "If you tell your father, I'll make sure he sends you and your brother to boarding school, far away, where no one will ever find you." Ruby's blood turned to ice. It wasn't just abuse. It was calculated psychological torture. Tiffany was systematically breaking these children, and Michael had no idea, or didn't want to know. The breaking point came 3 days later. Ruby woke at 2 a.m. to the sound of crying. She pulled on her robe and rushed to the children's wing. Noah's door was ajar. She pushed it open. The little boy was sitting up in bed, sobbing into his hands. Lily was already there, trying to comfort him, but she looked terrified. "What happened?" Ruby asked, hurrying over. He had a nightmare, Lily whispered. About the closet. Ruby's chest tightened. The closet. Noah was inconsolable, hiccuping and shaking. Ruby gathered him into her arms and he clung to her like she was the only solid thing in the world. Shh, you're safe. You're safe. It took 20 minutes for him to calm down. When he finally did, he whispered against Ruby's shoulder, the first word she'd heard him speak directly. Dark. It was dark. I know, baby, I know. Lily tugged on Ruby's robe. Miss Tiffany locks him in there when he won't stop crying. She says Daddy can't know because he'll think Noah's weak. Ruby's vision went red at the edges. She held Noah tighter, pressing, her face into his hair so he wouldn't see her fury. How many times? 4, Lily whispered. 4 times. The last time, he wet himself because she wouldn't let him out. And then she made him sleep in it. She said it was a lesson. Ruby's hands were shaking. She wanted to march downstairs, break down Tiffany's bedroom door, and... She stopped the thought. Violence wasn't the answer. Evidence was. Lily, can you show me which closet? Lily led her to the hallway linen closet. It was small, dark, with no light switch inside. Ruby opened it, looked at the cramped space, and imagined a terrified 3-year-old locked inside. She pulled out her phone and took photos. Then she crouched in front of both children. I need you to trust me, okay? I'm going to fix this. How? Lily asked, her voice small and hopeless. By making sure your daddy knows the truth. But Miss Tiffany said... Miss Tiffany is lying, Ruby said fiercely. Your daddy loves you. He's just been... distracted. But he's going to see now. I promise. She tucked them both back into bed, stayed until they fell asleep. Then she went to her room and started preparing the evidence package. Photos, videos, audio recordings, witness statements, her own, medical documentation of the bruises she'd photographed. Everything. But she needed one more thing. Proof that Michael Reed wasn't just negligent. Proof that he could be redeemed. Because if she destroyed Tiffany, but left the children with a father who didn't care, she'd have saved them from nothing. The next afternoon, Michael came home unexpectedly. Ruby was in the kitchen when he walked in, loosening his tie. He looked exhausted, shadows under his eyes, tension in his jaw. Coffee? Ruby offered. He blinked, surprised. Yeah, thanks. She poured him a cup, black. He took it, leaned against the counter. For a moment, silence. Then, how are the kids? They're resilient, Ruby said carefully. Considering. His eyes sharpened. Considering what? This was it. Ruby's moment. She could say something vague, play it safe. Or she could push. Considering they've lost their mother and you're rarely home. Michael's expression hardened. Careful. I'm not trying to overstep, Ruby continued, keeping her voice soft but firm. But they miss you, sir. Lily talks about you constantly. Noah watches the door every night hoping you'll come home to say goodnight. Something flickered across his face. Guilt. Maybe grief. He looked away. Tiffany's been handling them. With respect, sir. Has she? He frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Ruby hesitated, then decided to test the waters. I just think maybe you should spend more time with them. Observe. Make sure things are as they should be. Michael studied her for a long moment. You've been here, what? 2 weeks? And you're giving me parenting advice? I'm giving you an observation from someone who sees them every day, Ruby replied. They're good kids, Mr. Reed. Really good. But they're scared. Scared of what? Of the woman sleeping in your bed, Ruby wanted to say. But she couldn't. Not yet. Change. Loss. Being forgotten. Michael's jaw tightened. He set down his coffee cup. I'm not forgetting them. Then prove it, sir. He stared at her. For a second, Ruby thought she'd pushed too far. Then he nodded once, sharp and curt. I'll make time this week. Happy? It's not about me being happy, sir. It's about them feeling loved. He left without another word. But Ruby saw it, the crack in his armor. He wasn't a monster. He was a grieving man who'd built walls so high he couldn't see over them anymore. Maybe, just maybe, he could still be reached. That night, Ruby heard shouting. She crept to the top of the stairs, listening. They're my children, Tiffany. If I want to spend time with them, I will. Of course, darling. I just think you're overworking yourself. They're fine. I've been managing. Ruby seems to think otherwise. Silence. Then Tiffany's voice, cold as winter. Ruby? The housekeeper? She mentioned the kids seemed scared. Withdrawn. Michael. Tiffany's tone shifted, became soothing. The children are grieving. They're adjusting. But I've been handling it. You don't need to worry. Maybe I should be worrying more. Another silence. Longer. When Tiffany spoke again, her voice was ice dipped in honey. If Ruby has concerns, she should bring them to me first. Chain of command, darling. Ruby's stomach dropped. She'd just painted a target, on her own back. She retreated to her room, locked the door, and reviewed her evidence files again. She had enough. Barely. But enough. Tomorrow she'd confront Michael directly. No more hints, no more waiting. Because tonight, she'd seen something in Tiffany's eyes when Michael mentioned Ruby's name. And Ruby had seen that look before. On the face of someone who was about to eliminate a problem. Ruby didn't sleep. She sat on the floor of her room with her laptop, compiling everything into a single folder. Videos, photos, timestamps, audio clips. By 4 a.m., she had a presentation that would either save Lily and Noah or destroy her completely. At 6:30 a.m., she heard Michael's bedroom door open. She waited 5 minutes, then went downstairs. He was in the kitchen, pouring coffee, already dressed in a charcoal suit. Alone. Mr. Reed, Ruby said quietly. I need to speak with you, privately. He glanced up, surprised. Now? It's important. It's about your children. His expression shifted, concern mixed with irritation. Is something wrong? Can we talk in your office, please? He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. 5 minutes. Ruby followed him to his office, her heart slamming against her ribs. The room was all dark wood and leather, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a massive desk that looked like it had witnessed 1,000 illegal deals. Michael sat behind it, gestured for her to speak. Ruby pulled out her phone, connected it to the monitor on his desk. What I'm about to show you is going to be difficult to watch. But you need to see it. Ruby? Please, sir, just watch. She played the first video. The kitchen incident with the broken glass. Tiffany gripping Lily's arm. The red marks. Michael's face went still as stone. Then the next video. Tiffany berating Noah for spilling water. Then another. Tiffany dragging Lily by the hair out of frame. Michael's knuckles were white where they gripped the armrest. Ruby showed the photos next. The bruises, the burn mark, the documentation of the closet. Noah has nightmares about being locked in there, Ruby said softly. Lily told me it happened 4 times. Your fiancé. Stop. Michael's voice was a low, dangerous growl. Stop talking. Ruby froze. Michael stood slowly, his hands flat on the desk. How long have you known? Since my first week. And you're showing me this now? I needed to be sure. I needed proof that would... Proof? He laughed, a harsh sound. You needed proof that someone was torturing my children? I needed proof that you'd believe me. Ruby shot back. Because I researched the previous housekeeper, Maria Santos. She tried to help your kids, and she disappeared. So forgive me for being careful. Michael went very still. What? Your fiancé made her disappear? I don't know how. But Maria Santos is missing, and the last place she worked was here. Michael's face drained of color. He sat down slowly, like his legs wouldn't hold him. For a long moment, he said nothing, just stared at the frozen image on the screen. Tiffany's hand tangled in Lily's hair, the child's face twisted in pain. I didn't see it, he whispered. I didn't. How did I not see it? Ruby's anger softened slightly. You were grieving, and Tiffany is very good at hiding what she is. That's not an excuse. His voice broke. Those are my kids. I'm supposed to protect them. You can still... Where are they right now? Asleep. In their rooms. Michael stood. Abruptly. Get them. Pack their things. We're leaving. Mr. Reed, get them. Now. Ruby hesitated, but the look in his eyes, raw, desperate, furious, made her move. She ran upstairs, woke Lily and Noah gently. We're going on a trip, she whispered. Quick and quiet, okay? Lily's eyes went wide. Is Daddy mad? No, sweetheart. He's going to keep you safe. She dressed them in warm clothes, grabbed their favorite toys, stuffed everything into a duffel bag. When she brought them downstairs, Michael was waiting by the door, keys in hand. He looked at his children, and something in his face crumpled. He knelt down to their level. Lily and Noah both flinched. Hey, he said softly. Hey, it's okay. I'm not mad. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Lily started crying. We didn't mean to be bad. You're not bad. Michael pulled them both into his arms, holding them tight. You're perfect, and I failed you. But I won't again. I promise. Noah buried his face in his father's shoulder. Lily sobbed. And Ruby stood there, watching this broken man hold his children, and finally see them, really see them. Then the hallway light flicked on. Tiffany stood at the top of the stairs in a silk robe, her face calm and beautiful. Michael, what's going on? Michael stood slowly, putting himself between Tiffany and the children. We're leaving. Tiffany descended the stairs, graceful as a cat. At 6 a.m.? Where could you possibly... Don't. Michael's voice was a whip crack. Don't say another word. She stopped, tilted her head. I don't understand. You've been hurting my children. Tiffany's eyes widened. Perfect shock. Perfect innocence. What? Michael, that's insane. Who told you? Her gaze slid to Ruby. Oh, I see. I have video, Ruby said flatly. Hours of it. Tiffany's mask flickered, just for a second. Then she smiled. Convenient. The new housekeeper just happens to have damning footage. Michael, don't you see? She's manipulating you. Probably trying to extort. I saw the bruises myself, Michael interrupted. Just now, on my children, bruises shaped like fingers. Tiffany's expression went cold. No more pretense. They're clumsy. Noah told me about the closet. He's a liar. Lily showed me the burn mark on her ribs. Tiffany's jaw tightened. They're dramatic. Children exaggerate. I saw your face in the videos, Michael said, his voice deadly quiet. I saw what you are. For a moment, Tiffany said nothing. Then she laughed, a brittle, chilling sound. What I am. I'm the woman who saved you, Michael. When you were drowning in grief, who was there? Who ran your household? Who put up with your broken, pathetic children? Ruby stepped forward instinctively, putting herself between Tiffany and the kids. Michael's hand went to his waistband, where Ruby knew he kept a gun. Don't, Ruby said sharply to Michael. Not in front of them. Michael's hand stilled. Tiffany noticed. She smiled. So the housekeeper gives orders now? Ruby's right, Michael said. You're not worth it. You're going to leave, now. And if you ever come near my children again, You'll what? Tiffany's voice rose. You're a criminal, Michael. I have friends in law enforcement. I have documentation. If you harm me, I'll make sure you lose everything. Then we're at an impasse, Ruby said calmly. Because I have documentation too, and I'm very willing to share it with those same law enforcement friends of yours. Tiffany's eyes narrowed. Who the hell are you? Ruby met her gaze. Someone who knows what it's like to lose a sister to people like you. Understanding dawned in Tiffany's eyes. You're not a housekeeper. No, I'm not. Michael looked at Ruby, confusion flickering across his face. But before he could ask, Tiffany lunged. Not at Michael. At Lily. Ruby moved on instinct. She shoved Lily behind her, caught Tiffany's wrist as the woman's nails slashed toward the child's face. They struggled. Tiffany was stronger than she looked, fueled by rage. She grabbed a vase from the hall table, swung it. Ruby ducked. The vase shattered against the wall. Michael roared, grabbed Tiffany, hauled her back. She thrashed, screaming, You're making a mistake. Those children are damaged. They'll ruin you. I was doing you a favor. Michael slammed her against the wall. Get out, now, or I stop being civilized. Tiffany went still, looked at him, saw something in his eyes that made her smile drop. This isn't over. Yes, Michael said quietly. It is. He released her. Tiffany straightened her robe, smoothed her hair, and walked to the door with eerie calm. She paused on the threshold. You'll regret this, Michael. All of you. Then she was gone. Ruby's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the floor, adrenaline crashing. Lily and Noah ran to her, clinging. Michael stood frozen, staring at the door. We need to leave, Ruby said hoarsely. Now. She's going to call someone. Police, FBI, I don't know. But she won't let this go. Michael, turned. Who are you? Really? Ruby met his eyes. My name is Ruby Chen. My sister was Sarah Chen. She worked for your accountant's office 2 years ago. She found evidence of money laundering. Someone killed her. I thought it was you. Michael's face went blank. Sarah Chen. You remember her? I remember when she died. I remember. He closed his eyes. I didn't order it. I wouldn't have. She was just an accountant. Then who did? Tiffany. He opened his eyes. She was handling a lot of the financial operations back then. If there was a leak, she would have been the one to plug it. Ruby's world tilted. What? I didn't know, Michael said. I swear to God I didn't know. But now, he looked at Ruby. Your sister. The missing housekeeper. How many others? Ruby couldn't breathe. All this time she'd been targeting the wrong person. Sarah's killer had been living in this house, sleeping in the next room, torturing children. We need to go, Michael repeated, more urgently. Ruby, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Ruby looked at Lily and Noah, both pressed against her. Then at Michael, this man she'd come here to destroy. I don't know, she admitted. Then trust them, Michael said, nodding at the children. They need you, and I can't do this alone. Please. Ruby stared at him, then nodded. Okay, but we do this my way. No violence, no silencing witnesses. We go to the authorities. If we do that, we do it right, Ruby insisted. Or I take the kids and disappear, and you never see them again. Michael's jaw worked, then he nodded. Okay, your way. Good. Ruby stood, lifting Noah into her arms. Lily grabbed her other hand. Then let's go, before your fiancé decides to come back with reinforcements. They left the mansion as dawn broke over Chicago, and Ruby realized with a strange, dizzying clarity she'd come here for revenge. But somewhere along the way, she'd found something more important, a family worth saving. They drove north in Michael's black SUV, putting distance between themselves and the city. The children fell asleep in the back seat within 20 minutes, exhausted from fear and adrenaline. Ruby sat in the passenger seat, watching the highway blur past, her mind racing. Michael hadn't spoken since they'd left. His hands were tight on the wheel, jaw clenched, eyes fixed forward. Finally, Ruby broke the silence. Where are we going? A safe house, 2 hours north, off the grid. One of your properties? No. Belongs to someone I trust, someone outside the business. Ruby studied his profile. You believe me. About my sister. I looked into it. Michael's voice was flat. After you mentioned Maria Santos, I made calls, pulled files. There were inconsistencies, payments I didn't authorize, offshore accounts I didn't open. He glanced at her. Tiffany's been running her own operation under my nose for years. Ruby's stomach twisted. What kind of operation? Blackmail, mostly. She'd find leverage on people, affairs, embezzlement, secrets, and squeeze them. The money went into accounts I never saw. She used my name, my reputation, but kept everything separate. And when people like my sister got too close, Michael's knuckles went white. She handled it, personally. How many? I don't know, yet, but I will. He looked at her again. I'm sorry. About your sister. About all of this. Ruby wanted to hate him. Should have hated him. But looking at this man, who'd been blind but not malicious, who'd failed his children but was trying to fix it, she couldn't summon the rage anymore. Just keep driving, she said quietly. The safe house was a cabin in Wisconsin, isolated by a thick forest and a frozen lake. It was small, rustic, but warm. Michael carried the sleeping children inside while Ruby checked the perimeter. Old habits from her research days. Always know your exits. Inside, there was a fire already burning. The friend Michael mentioned, an older man named Frank, who didn't ask questions and didn't seem surprised by the circumstances, had stocked the kitchen and left. You've got a week, he'd told Michael. Then I need plausible deniability. Ruby made hot chocolate while Michael put the kids to bed in the loft. When he came back down, he looked a decade older than his 38 years. They're terrified, he said, sitting heavily on the couch. Noah won't let go of his teddy bear. Lily keeps asking if Tiffany's going to find us. What did you tell them? That I'd keep them safe, but I'm not sure they believe me. He looked at Ruby. Why should they? I didn't keep them safe before. Ruby sat across from him, cradling her own mug. You didn't know. I should have. His voice cracked. I should have seen. The bruises, the fear, the way they flinched. I was so focused on work, on keeping the business running, on not thinking about Rachel. He stopped. My wife, their mother. She died 3 years ago. Ovarian cancer. It was fast. Brutal. And I shut down. Let Tiffany in because it was easier than feeling. She preyed on that, Ruby said softly. That's what predators do. They find vulnerability and exploit it. Doesn't make me less responsible. No, but it means you can still fix it. Michael looked at her. Really looked. Why are you helping me? After what you thought I did to your sister? Ruby was quiet for a moment. Because Lily and Noah need you, and because I've spent 2 years hating you. I'm tired of hate. didn't bring Sarah back. It just made me hollow. Your sister would be proud of you, Michael said. What you did for my kids. Sarah would have told me to call the cops immediately and stop playing hero. Ruby smiled sadly. She was always smarter than me. They sat in silence, the fire crackling. Outside, snow began to fall. What's the plan? Ruby asked finally. Michael leaned forward, elbows on his knees. We need evidence that holds up legally. Not just videos, testimony, financial. Records, connections to Maria Santos's disappearance, your sister's death. Enough to put Tiffany away for life. She'll run. She already is. I have people watching her. The moment she tries to leave the country, I'll know. And if she gets to the FBI first, spins this as you being the threat, then we need to get there first. Michael looked at her. You said you wanted to do this right. No violence, no covering up. I'm agreeing. But that means we work together. You have the videos. I have the financial records. Together we build a case. Ruby studied him. And your business? Your empire? Might burn, Michael admitted. Probably will. But I don't care. Not if it means my kids are safe. You mean that? He met her eyes. I've spent 3 years being a ghost in my own home. I'm done. Whatever it takes, I'm done. Ruby nodded slowly. Okay. Then we need a lawyer. Someone who specializes in organized crime and witness protection. I know someone. But... Michael hesitated. If we go this route, we're not going back. Not to Chicago. Not to that life. The kids will need new identities, new schools. We'll lose everything. Not everything, Ruby said. You'll have them. That's what matters. Michael's expression softened. When did you get so wise? When I watched 2 kids choose to trust me, even though every adult in their life had failed them. Ruby stood. I'm going to check on them. She climbed the loft ladder. Lily and Noah were curled together in one bed. Lily's arm around her brother. Ruby adjusted their blankets, smoothed Lily's hair. The little girl stirred. Miss Ruby, she whispered. I'm here, sweetheart. Is Daddy really going to stay this time? Ruby's throat tightened. Yes, I think he is. And you? You're not leaving? Not unless you want me to. Lily's small hand found Ruby's. Please don't go. You're our family now. Ruby's vision blurred. She squeezed Lily's hand gently. I'm not going anywhere. Promise. Lily fell back asleep, and Ruby stayed there, watching them breathe. These children she'd only known for 3 weeks. These children who'd somehow become hers. When she climbed back down, Michael was on his phone, speaking in low, urgent tones. He hung up when he saw her. My lawyer's coming tomorrow. He'll bring the paperwork for witness protection. And I have someone pulling all of Tiffany's offshore accounts, her communications, everything. If we're doing this, we're doing it all the way. Good. Ruby sat down. But, Michael, you need to prepare yourself. The FBI will want everything. Your operations, your contacts, names. They'll dismantle your entire organization. I know. And people will come after you. Rivals who see weakness. Partners who feel betrayed. I know. This won't be clean. Or easy. I don't care. Michael looked up at the loft, where his children slept. I've been living in the dark for 3 years. It's time to face the light, even if it burns. Ruby nodded. Then we start tomorrow. But neither of them slept that night, because they both knew. Tiffany Laurent was not someone who accepted defeat gracefully, and somewhere out there she was planning her next move. At 3 a.m., Michael's phone buzzed. He checked it, and his face went pale. What? Ruby asked. He showed her the screen. A text from an unknown number. You took something that belongs to me. I want it back. One way or another. Below the message, a photo. The Reed mansion. Burning. She torched it, Michael whispered. She burned everything. Ruby's blood ran cold. Is anyone inside? No. I told the staff to take the week off. He looked at Ruby. This is a message. She's coming. Let her come, Ruby said, her voice harder than she felt. We have evidence. We have the kids. She has nothing. She has rage and money and no conscience. Michael stood, began pacing. We need to move faster. Tomorrow's not soon enough. Ruby stood too. Then we call your lawyer now. Wake him up. Get the ball rolling tonight. Michael nodded, already dialing. As he spoke in clipped, urgent sentences, Ruby looked out the window at the dark forest. Somewhere out there, Tiffany was hunting. And Ruby realized this wasn't over. The confrontation at the mansion had been just the beginning. The real fight was about to start. And this time, there would be no retreat. No safe houses left to run to. It was stand and fight, or lose everything they'd barely begun to protect. Ruby touched the pocket where she kept her phone. The phone with all the evidence. It wasn't just data anymore. It was ammunition. And she was ready to use it. Whatever happens, she said quietly, more to herself than Michael. Those kids don't get hurt again. Not on my watch. Michael hung up, looked at her. My lawyer's on his way. ETA 6 hours. He's bringing FBI contacts. Good. Ruby? His voice was tentative. Thank you. For staying. For not running when you found out who I really am. Ruby met his eyes. I'm not staying for you, Michael. I'm staying for them. I know. He almost smiled. That's why I trust you. They stood together in the firelight, two people bound by trauma and circumstance and a shared mission. Protect the innocent, no matter the cost. Outside, the snow fell harder, and in the distance, unseen, Tiffany Laurent sharpened her claws. The lawyer arrived at dawn with 2 FBI agents in tow. Ruby watched from the cabin window as they parked. 3 black cars, engines idling, exhaust curling in the frozen air. Michael met them outside, shaking hands, speaking in low tones. Ruby stayed inside with the kids, who were eating oatmeal at the small kitchen table. Who are those people? Lily asked, her voice small. Friends, Ruby said, though she wasn't sure it was true. They're here to help. Noah clutched his teddy bear tighter. He hadn't spoken since they'd arrived, just watched everything with those enormous, wary eyes. Ruby knelt beside him, smoothed his hair. You're safe, Noah. I promise. He leaned into her, and Ruby's heart cracked open again. These kids. God, these kids. Michael came inside with the lawyer, a sharp-eyed man in his 50s named Castellano, no relation, he'd assured Ruby with a grim smile, and the 2 agents, a woman named Agent Torres and a man named Agent Brennan. They all looked at Ruby like she was a puzzle they couldn't quite solve. Miss Chen, Agent Torres said, sitting across from Ruby. We need to ask you some questions. I figured. You infiltrated Michael Reed's home under false pretenses. I did. With the intention of gathering evidence against him for your sister's murder. Yes. But instead you uncovered evidence of child abuse perpetrated by his fiancée, Tiffany Laurent. Correct. Agent Torres leaned forward. And now you're asking us to grant immunity to Mr. Reed, a known organized crime figure, in exchange for his testimony against Ms. Laurent. I'm asking you to protect 2 children who've been tortured, Ruby corrected. Whatever happens to Michael Reed is between you and him. But Lily and Noah don't testify. They don't get dragged through court. They've been through enough. Agent Brennan spoke up. We've reviewed the evidence you provided. The videos, the photos, the audio recordings. It's compelling. It's horrifying, Ruby said flatly. It is, Torres agreed. But Ms. Laurent's attorney is already claiming the footage is fabricated. Deep fakes, edited. Ruby's hands curled into fists. It's not. We believe you. But we need more. We need forensic evidence. Medical examinations of the children. Testimony from... No. Michael's voice cut through the room like a knife. My kids are not going through examinations. They're not answering questions from strangers. They're 5 and 3 years old. They've been terrorized enough. Mr. Reed, I'll give you everything else, Michael interrupted. Financial records, communication logs, names of Tiffany's contacts. I'll testify about her operations, her blackmail schemes, the offshore accounts. Hell, I'll testify about my own crimes if it helps. But you leave my children alone. Torres and Brennan exchanged glances. Castellano stepped in. My client is prepared to cooperate fully. In exchange, he wants immunity for himself and Ms. Chen, plus witness protection for his family. His family, Brennan said slowly. Including Ms. Chen? Ruby's breath caught. She looked at Michael. He was looking back at her. Yes, Michael said firmly, including Ruby. She's not legally... She's the only reason my kids are alive, Michael said. She risked everything to protect them. So yes, she's family, and she's coming with us. Ruby's throat tightened. She hadn't expected that. Hadn't expected him to fight for her. Torres sighed. We'll need to consult with our superiors. But off the record, we want Tiffany Laurent. She's been on our radar for years, but we could never get close. If you can give us a case that sticks, we'll consider your terms. How long? Michael asked. 48 hours. We don't have 48 hours, Ruby said. She burned down Michael's mansion. She knows we have evidence. She's not going to wait patiently while you deliberate. Torres stood. Then we move faster. Mr. Reed, we'll need access to those financial records immediately. Ms. Chen, we'll need your original files, not copies. Ruby hesitated. If I give you the originals and this falls through... It won't, Torres said. I give you my word. Ruby looked at Michael. He nodded. She pulled out her phone, began transferring files. There's more. I documented everything about Maria Santos, the missing housekeeper, and my sister Sarah Chen. If you dig into Tiffany's operations around the time of their deaths, you'll find connections. Brennan was already typing on his laptop. We'll pull all case files related to those names. If there's a link, we'll find it. For the next 3 hours, the cabin became a war room. Michael spread out ledgers and bank statements. Ruby walked agents through her videos, explaining context, timestamps. Lily and Noah stayed in the loft, coloring, occasionally peeking down at the chaos below. By noon, they had a strategy. Torres would present the case to the U.S. attorney that evening. If approved, arrest warrants for Tiffany Laurent would be issued by morning. In the meantime, Michael and his family would remain under FBI protection. What if she runs? Ruby asked. We have people watching her, Brennan assured. She hasn't left Chicago. In fact, she's been surprisingly visible, attending charity events, giving interviews about the tragic fire at her fiancé's home. She's establishing an alibi, Michael muttered. Building sympathy. Let her, Torres said. It won't save her. But Ruby wasn't convinced. Tiffany Laurent was too smart to sit back and wait for arrest. She was planning something. At 2 p.m., Michael's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered on speaker. Michael. Tiffany's voice was silk over razor blades. I hope you're comfortable in your little hiding place. Michael's jaw tightened. How did you get this number? I have resources, just like you. Actually, better than yours, it seems. She laughed. a brittle, chilling sound. Did you really think you could just walk away? Take my children. They're not yours, Michael growled. They were mine to mold, Tiffany corrected. And you ruined everything, but that's okay. I can be forgiving. What do you want? A trade. The housekeeper, I mean Ruby Chen, for my freedom. She has evidence that doesn't belong to her. I want it destroyed, and in return, I'll disappear. You'll never see me again. No, Michael said flatly. No? Tiffany's voice turned cold. Michael, I know things. About your operations. About your partners. If I go down, I'm taking everyone with me. Including you. Which means your children end up in foster care while you rot in prison. Is that what you want? Agent Torres was scribbling notes, mouthing "keep her talking" to Michael. You're bluffing, Michael said. Am I? Test me. Choose your criminal pride over your children's future. See what happens. Michael's hands were shaking. Ruby stepped closer, put a hand on his arm. He looked at her, and she saw the war in his eyes, the primal urge to protect his kids, versus the knowledge that giving in to Tiffany meant losing anyway. You have 12 hours, Tiffany continued. Meet me at the old warehouse on Ashland. Bring Ruby and the evidence. Come alone. If I see FBI, if I see anyone else, I'll make sure those videos go viral. Every news outlet, every social media platform. Your children's trauma, on display for the world. Can you imagine what that would do to them? She hung up. The room erupted in voices, Torres and Brennan arguing about tactical options, Castellano insisting they ignore the demand, Michael standing frozen, knuckles white. Ruby cut through the noise. I'll go. Everyone stopped. Ruby, Michael started. I'll go, she repeated. But not the way she wants. We wear a wire. FBI follows at a distance. We get her confession on tape, then you move in. Torres shook her head. Too dangerous. She'll search you. And if she finds the wire, then we do it without one, Ruby said. I'll get her talking. She's arrogant. She'll gloat. And you'll have agents outside recording everything. This is insane, Michael said. I'm not letting you. It's not your choice, Ruby interrupted gently. Those kids need their father alive and free. Not in prison. Not on the run. This ends tonight, Michael. One way or another. He stared at her. If something happens to you, then you make sure Lily and Noah know I chose this. That I didn't leave them. The room was silent. Finally, Agent Torres spoke. If we do this, it's under strict parameters. Full surveillance. Snipers in position. Extraction team on standby. And at the first sign of trouble, we go in. Agreed, Ruby said. I'm coming. With you, Michael added. Absolutely not. She asked for both of us, Michael said. If I don't show, she'll suspect, but I won't let Ruby face her alone. Torres looked between them, clearly unhappy, but she nodded. Fine, but you follow our lead. No hero moves, no improvisation. Ruby and Michael looked at each other. An understanding passed between them, unspoken but solid. They'd started this as enemies. But now, standing in a cabin in the middle of nowhere, preparing to face down a monster, they were something else. They were a team, a family, forged in fire and desperation. What do we tell the kids? Michael asked quietly. Ruby glanced up at the loft. Lily was peeking down, watching. Their eyes met. Ruby forced a smile. We tell them we'll be back, and we mean it. Because failure wasn't an option. Not anymore. At 10 p.m., under a moonless sky, Ruby and Michael climbed into an FBI surveillance van. Agent Torres handed them earpieces, nearly invisible, high grade. We'll hear everything. You won't hear us, but we're there. Trust that. Ruby nodded, slipping the device into her ear. Across from her, Michael looked like a man preparing for war. His suit was dark, his expression darker. But when he looked at Ruby, something softened. "If this goes wrong," he started, "it won't. But if it does, if she hurts you, then you get out," Ruby said firmly. "You get back to those kids. You don't play hero. You survive." Michael's eyes burned. "Ruby, promise me." He hesitated, then nodded. "I promise." They drove in silence to the warehouse. It loomed against the Chicago skyline, abandoned, graffitied, a monument to decay. Ruby's heart hammered as they stepped out of the van. Michael's hand found hers, squeezed once. Then they walked toward the entrance. Tiffany was waiting inside, backlit by a single fluorescent light. She looked immaculate, white coat, blonde hair perfect, like she was attending a gala instead of a hostage negotiation. "Michael," she purred. "And the brave little housekeeper, how touching." "We're here," Michael said. "Let's get this over with." Tiffany smiled. "Where's the evidence?" Ruby held up her phone. "Encrypted, backed up in 3 locations. You get the passwords when we get a guarantee you'll disappear." "How do I know you won't just send it to the FBI anyway?" "Because I want this over as much as you do," Ruby lied smoothly. "I want those kids to have a normal life. I want to move on. You get your freedom, we get ours." Tiffany studied her. "You're lying." Ruby's stomach dropped. "I can always tell when someone's lying," Tiffany continued, stepping closer. "It's a gift. And you, Ruby Chen, are a terrible liar." She pulled out a gun. Michael moved instinctively, stepping in front of Ruby. "Tiffany, don't." Tiffany's voice was ice. "You betrayed me, Michael. You chose them over me. So now I'm going to take everything from you, starting with her." She aimed at Ruby. And Ruby realized, with cold clarity, Tiffany had never intended to make a deal. She'd come here to eliminate loose ends. The shot rang out. Michael shoved Ruby hard. She hit the ground, ears ringing. Above her, chaos erupted. FBI storming in, shouting, tactical lights blinding. And Michael, on the ground beside her, blood spreading across his white shirt. "No," Ruby breathed. "No, no, no." He was still conscious, eyes wide, one hand pressed to his side. "The kids," he gasped. "Ruby, the kids." "You're okay," Ruby said, pressing her hands over his, trying to stop the bleeding. "You're okay. Stay with me." Tiffany was being dragged away, screaming. Agent Torres was barking orders. Paramedics rushed in. But all Ruby could see was Michael's blood on her hands, his life slipping through her fingers. "Don't you dare," she whispered fiercely. "Don't you dare leave them. They need you. Do you hear me? They need you." Michael's eyes found hers. He tried to smile. "Tell them I kept my promise." Then his eyes closed, and Ruby screamed. The hospital waiting room smelled like disinfectant and despair. Ruby sat in a plastic chair, Michael's blood still on her hands, dried now, brown and cracked. Agent Torres had tried to get her to wash up, but Ruby couldn't move, couldn't think, couldn't do anything except replay the moment. The gun, the shot, Michael pushing her out of the way. He'd taken a bullet meant for her. Lily and Noah were with a social worker in a separate room, coloring, unaware. Ruby had promised them their father would come back. She'd promised. At hour 3, a surgeon emerged. Ruby stood on shaking legs. "He's stable," the doctor said. "The bullet missed major organs. He was lucky. Another 2 inches. She didn't finish. He'll recover, fully." Ruby's knees gave out. Torres caught her, lowered her back into the chair. "He's okay," the agent murmured. "It's okay." But it wasn't. Not yet. Tiffany Laurent was in federal custody, but her arrest had triggered a cascade. Reporters were swarming. Michael's organization was fracturing as rivals sensed weakness. And somewhere in the chaos, someone had leaked the videos, Lily and Noah's trauma, their bruises, their pain, to the media. Exactly as Tiffany had threatened. Ruby watched the news on the waiting room TV with mounting horror. Her stomach turned as pundits debated, as strangers analyzed those children's worst moments, as the world consumed their suffering like entertainment. "We're taking them off air," Torres said, appearing beside her, issuing restraining orders against every outlet. "But Ruby, the damage is done. Those kids' faces are everywhere." "They're not safe," Ruby whispered. "Even with Tiffany in custody. They'll never be safe here." Torres nodded slowly. "That's why witness protection is no longer optional. It's mandatory. For all of you." "All of us?" "Michael Reed can't stay in Chicago. His organization's collapsing, but there are too many people who want him dead. You're linked to him now, which makes you a target. And the kids?" Torres looked at the TV, where Lily's face was frozen mid-cry in a still from Ruby's video. "They need to disappear. Completely." Ruby closed her eyes. "Where?" "We have a location. Small town in Wisconsin. Clean identities. Michael will have to give up everything. His name, his past, his empire. You'll all be starting over." "Can he do that? After living like this for so long?" Torres smiled grimly. "He took a bullet for you. I think he's serious about change." When Ruby finally saw Michael, 4 hours post-op, groggy but alive, the first thing he said was, "The kids, are they—" "Safe," Ruby assured, pulling a chair close to his bed. "They're with a social worker. They don't know yet." "About the videos?" Ruby nodded. Michael's jaw tightened. "I'm going to kill her. She's already in federal prison, and you're not killing anyone." Ruby took his hand carefully. "Michael, your life as you knew it is over. The FBI is offering witness protection. New names, new city, new everything. You'd have to disappear." He looked at her for a long moment. "Would you come?" Ruby's breath caught. "What?" "With us. The kids trust you. He stopped, looking vulnerable in a way she'd never seen. "I can't do this without you, Ruby. I don't know how to be a father, not a real one. But you do. You know how to make them feel safe." "Michael." "I'm not asking you to give up your life for me," he said quickly. "I'm asking you to consider building a new one. With us, as a family." Ruby stared at him. 2 months ago, she'd infiltrated his home planning to destroy him. And now he was asking her to stay, to be part of something real. "What about your empire?" "Burning as we speak." Michael smiled weakly. "I'm okay with that. I spent years building something that nearly cost me everything that mattered. Time to build something new." Ruby thought of Lily's drawing. 4 stick figures holding hands. Thought of Noah finally speaking. Her name. Thought of the promise she'd made. "I'm not going anywhere." "Okay," she said softly. "I'm in." Michael's eyes filled. He squeezed her hand. "Thank you." 2 weeks later, they left Chicago in the middle of the night. Michael was healing but moving carefully, one hand pressed to his side. Ruby carried Noah, who was asleep on her shoulder. Lily held both their hands, silent but trusting. They drove to a small town called Millbrook, Wisconsin. Population 4,000. No news crews, no reporters. Just trees and snow and a quiet that felt like safety. The house the FBI had arranged was modest. 3 bedrooms, a kitchen that smelled like wood smoke, a backyard with an old swing set. Nothing like the mansion. But when Lily saw it, she smiled for the first time in weeks. "It's cozy," she whispered. Michael knelt down, still wincing from his injury. "Do you like it?" Lily nodded. "Can we stay?" "For as long as you want." Noah, awake now, looked up at Ruby. "Miss Ruby stay too?" "I'm staying," Ruby assured. "Forever." They spent that first night unpacking boxes, setting up bedrooms. Ruby helped Lily arrange her stuffed animals. Michael read Noah a story, his voice rough with emotion, and when the kids finally fell asleep, Ruby and Michael sat in the living room with mugs of tea, watching snow fall through the window. "This is weird," Michael said. "Not having security, not having calls coming in, just quiet." "Do you miss it?" He considered. "I miss the control, the power. But I don't miss the person I was." He looked at her. "Ruby, I need to say something. About your sister." Ruby tensed. "I didn't order her death, but I created the environment where people like Tiffany thrived. I built an organization where violence was currency and lives were expendable. Sarah Chen died because of that world. Because of me. Michael, let me finish." He set down his mug. "I can't undo what happened. I can't bring her back. But I can make sure I raise my kids to be nothing like the man I was. I can teach them kindness instead of power, compassion instead of control. And maybe, if I do that right, Sarah's death won't have been for nothing." Ruby's eyes burned. She would have liked that. Sarah always believed people could change. Was she right? Ruby looked at him. This man who'd been a stranger, an enemy, and now something she couldn't quite name. "Ask me in a year." Michael smiled. "Fair enough." The months that followed were harder than Ruby expected. Michael struggled with civilian life, learning to cook, to drive without bodyguards, to exist without constant threat assessment. Lily had nightmares. Noah regressed, wetting the bed and refusing to speak for days at a time. And Ruby, carrying her own grief for Sarah, often felt like she was drowning. But they held each other up. Ruby got the kids into therapy. Michael learned to be present. Really present. Without his phone, without distractions. They established routines, family dinners, bedtime stories, Saturday morning pancakes. Small, normal things that slowly stitched them into something resembling whole. Michael took a job teaching history at the local community college under his new name, Marcus Riley. Ruby became an art teacher at the elementary school where Lily and Noah attended. They were the Riley family now. Ordinary, invisible. One evening, 6 months into their new life, Ruby was in the kitchen when Lily ran in, waving a paper. "Miss Ruby, look! I drew our family." Ruby took the drawing. 4 stick figures again, but this time they were all holding hands in a circle. No black lines, no separation, just connection. "It's beautiful, sweetheart." "That's you," Lily pointed, "and that's Daddy, and that's me and Noah. We're a real family now." Ruby's throat tightened. "We are." That night, after the kids were asleep, Michael found Ruby on the back porch. She was wrapped in a blanket, staring at the stars. "You okay?" he asked, sitting beside her. "I was just thinking about Sarah, wishing she could see this." "Maybe she can." Ruby looked at him. "Do you really believe that?" "I believe that sometimes the worst things lead to the best things, not because the worst things were good, they weren't, but because we survived them. And in surviving, we became something better." He took her hand. "You saved my kids, Ruby, but you also saved me." Ruby leaned against him. For a moment, they just sat in the cold, breathing in sync. "I love you," Michael said quietly. Ruby's heart stumbled. She looked up at him. "What?" "I love you. Not because you stayed. Not because you're good with the kids. But because you see me, all of me, even the broken parts. And you don't run." Ruby's eyes filled. "Michael, You don't have to say it back. I just wanted you to know. But Ruby smiled. I love you too. Even though you're a terrible cook and you leave the toothpaste cap off and you once ran the most dangerous criminal organization in Chicago. Michael laughed. A real, full laugh. When you put it like that, it's true. He kissed her. Soft, tentative, like a question. Ruby answered, leaning in, and for the first time in 2 years she felt something besides grief. She felt hope. Sometimes the people we set out to destroy become the people we can't live without. It's not about forgiveness. It's about recognition. Recognizing that pain doesn't excuse cruelty, but understanding can soften its edges. Recognizing that people are more than their worst moments if they're willing to do the work. Michael Reed was a crime lord who built an empire on fear. But he was also a father who learned, too late, that real power comes from being present. Ruby Chen came for revenge, but she found something stronger: purpose. And Lily and Noah. They learned that family isn't defined by blood or last names or where you live. It's defined by who shows up, who stays, who chooses you, every single day. Maybe that's the lesson buried in all of this. That redemption isn't a destination. It's a daily practice. It's choosing kindness when bitterness is easier. It's showing up when walking away would hurt less. It's kneeling down to a child's eye level and saying, I'm here. I'm not leaving. You're safe. And meaning it.